Hello, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and please check out my channel for other Z World updates. So the last update about Twist of Fate, Prachi refused to tell Ranbir that she is pregnant for him, and Aliyah is back to help Rhea to send Prachi out of the Kholi's house. Let's continue. Rhea tells Prachi that she has fixed a date to throw her out from the house. She says, "You have challenged to throw me out in 3 days, but I will throw you out tomorrow morning, as guests look good when goes." Prachi asks if you are done with your talks and says, "I thought your one interesting," and says guests shall be treated well, and says, "You treat me like a guest and I will make you do my work like a servant." Prachi says, "You are not my second wife, but you are my servant." She asks her to do the work and get busy so that Ranbir doesn't come even in your mind. Niti comes there and asks to whom this shall be given. Prachi says to the guest and take the juice glass and sips it. Pallavi asks Vikram if he needs to go to the office today. Vikram asks if this event shall be done here. He asks her to arrange for the party some other place. Pallavi says Renu is Shadra's daughter-in-law and she requested me to organize the party here. She says I got an idea to introduce Ranbir and Rhea to them and Prachi will get to know her status. Vikram says so it will be our get-together. Pallavi says she is just thinking about Rhea and says that she would have the great time. She asks him to come early for the party. He says okay. Ranbir comes to the guest room bathroom and couldn't see the soap or shampoo there. Ranbir thinks to take his bath in his bedroom bathroom and comes there. He calls Prachi and gets inside the bathroom. He thinks to take his bath fast until Prachi comes there. Prachi comes to the bathroom and asks, "What are you doing in my bathroom?" Ranbir says, "I did not come here to fight with you," and says that he has an important meeting today. Prachi says you should have taken your bath in the guest room bathroom. He says there is a problem and there is no shampoo and soap there. She gives him all his stuff and asks him to go. Ranbir says you are troubling me and says I will take my bath here and says you go or not, I don't care. Prachi says she is not shameless like Ranbir. Ranbir says you cannot afford to see me. Prachi tries to go but he finds the door locked. Ranbir says you cannot bear my sweetness. He says you are like honey bee who is sweet but bites to make the body swell. They argue. Ranbir asks her to go, calling her my friend, but Prachi says don't call me your friend. She recalls and a flashback is shown. Ranbir comes to open the door but finds the door locked. Rhea talks to the decorator and gets angry on the servant. Shaina calls Rhea and asks what does she need. Rhea says she doesn't need anything and asks her to come fast. The decorator asks where to keep the flowers. Rhea asks if I have to tell you everything. Then why did I hire you? She asks Niti to tell them. She asks the decorator to think that it is his house party and do the decoration well. Prachi and Ranbir argue in the bathroom. Ranbir asks Prachi to open the door. Prachi says the bathroom door is like you. Once locked, it cannot be opened. Rhea comes there and calls Prachi. Prachi says I am here. Rhea asks where is Ranbir? Prachi is about to say that Ranbir is with her, but Ranbir keeps his hand on Prachi's mouth. Rhea goes. Prachi shouted, "Ranbir is here with me." Ranbir says she has gone. He asks, "Why did you come? You were better outside." She says, "From your life too," and says, "Now I will not go." She knocks on the door and asks Rhea to open the door. Pallavi hears them and comes near the door. She tries to open the door and says it is locked. She asks, "What are you doing inside?" Ranbir says, "It is my washroom. What will I do inside?" Prachi says, "Just give him some intelligence. When we cannot share the life, we cannot share the room and bathroom." Pallavi says, "I cannot stand by her," and goes to call the carpenter. She asks the decorator if he knows a carpenter's work. He says yes. Pallavi asks Rhea where was she. Rhea says that she went to make the breakfast for Ranbir for some time. Pallavi says Prachi is cooking kimchi with Ranbir and says she shall be careful as a second wife is at home. Rhea says, "I am a second wife." Pallavi says, "What are you saying?" Rhea says, "I am the real wife and Prachi is the mistress." Pallavi says Prachi is locked with Ranbir in the bathroom and says God knows if it is locked by itself or if she has done this. They call the decorator / the carpenter there. He asks for the tools. Rhea asks how did it get closed. Ranbir says Rhea. She scolds him and asks why did you go in there. Ranbir says Prachi came after me. Rhea says Prachi might have done this intentionally. She doubts them. Prachi tries to open the door and feels suffocated. She says she cannot bear to be with him here. Ranbir asks if she cannot bear him. Prachi vomits. Ranbir gets worried for her and asks if she is fine. She asks him not to worry. He He asks her to have breath and rotate the clothes to give her some hair. Prachi recalls and a flashback is shown. Ranbir asks her to give him good news and says he always dreamed to have the baby. He says, I will distribute our love to our kids. Prachi says, I did not get proper sleep and that is why I vomit. She asks him to rotate the fowl so that she can get some hair. He asks her to promise that she will tell him when she gets pregnant, and if she did not tell him, then he will die. The flashback ends. Prachi gets emotional. Ranbir asks, do you want to tell me something? Prachi tries to tell him. Just then, the carpenter opens the door and gets inside. Rhea and Pallavi get inside. Ranbir asks Prachi not to be scared and tell him what she was saying. Prachi asks Rhea if she wanted to see what she wanted and asks if she will still say that Ranbir is her husband. She says Ranbir was not fighting with her but caring for her and says you couldn't throw me out of the bathroom. How will you throw me out of his life? Prachi tells Rhea that Rhea cannot even throw her out of the bathroom, so how can she throw her out of Ranbir's life? She smiles and goes from there. Rhea looks angrily at Ranbir. Prachi comes to her room and gets emotional. She thinks that Rhea shall doubt that Ranbir is mine always. She will fight with him and his mind will be distracted. Prachi says Ranbir shall not figure out about my pregnancy and I will be busy in replying to Rhea's jealousy questions. She recalls Ranbir's care and concern for her and thinks that I shouldn't have done this. Rhea will scold him. She thinks I don't have any other option left. Ranbir asks, why are you both looking at me like this? Pallavi asks what Ranbir was doing in Prachi's bathroom. He says it is my bathroom and not of Prachi. Pallavi says this room and the stuff here is of Prachi. Ranbir asks if Prachi says that I am hers, then will you believe her? Rhea says yes, we will believe her as you are proving her right. She says you are caring for Prachi inside. Ranbir says it is not like that and says we are locked and trying to get inside. Rhea says why haven't you told me that you are inside? Pallavi says you are legally wedded to Rhea and asks him to give respect to his and Rhea's relationship. Ranbir says I was not doing anything wrong. Pallavi says I don't want to explain to you and says you are under one roof with two wives. He says I stay alone. Pallavi says you have to make one woman go away from your life and that is Prachi. She says I told you, you shall decide. Prachi hears her. Rhea says even I can show my right on you and tell people that you have proposed to me and married me without knowing that you were not divorced with Prachi. She blackmails him. Prachi thinks that Rhea is selfish to blackmail Ranbir and thinks that both are the same. Ranbir says I was standing here and automatically taking care of her. Rhea says she doesn't want to trust Ranbir, but she shall accept for now. She goes. Prachi gets inside the room. Ranbir asks Prachi, why did you tell Rhea that I have taken care of you? Prachi says you have taken care of me. Ranbir says I don't want to be grounded between both sisters. She says you brought the order between us. Ranbir says your plan will not be successful next time. Prachi says your Rhea doesn't trust you even a bit. He says both sisters are like each other and they don't trust me. He says you said that you have changed and says don't change so much that there is no difference between Rhea and you. Ranbir asks if Prachi will make fun of his feelings to hurt him. Prachi says to know the feelings, one needs to have a heart, which you don't have. He says the pain is in your eyes and the feelings are the ones which you feel when you are near me. Ranbir asks Prachi to unburden her pain to lower her heart. A song plays in the background. Ranbir goes out. Prachi thinks that anyone would think that Ranbir is a good guy, but now I am believing my eyes. Rhea asks Niti what does she mean? That the snacks are not ready. She says you should have talked to the caterer. Niti says Pallavi Madam or Grandma used to call the caterer. Rhea says this party is for me and you want me to talk to the caterer. She asks her to get the caterer's number from Grandma. Prachi comes to Rhea and asks what color of dress shall I wear so that Ranbir can like it. Rhea says you are asking me and says you are like a college stupid girl and asks her to go and do the work. Prachi asks, did you understand now that when I was busy in the housework, you were busy in hair, makeup and all other clever tricks? Prachi says you wanted to make image in front of mommy and spoil my own image. She says you have taken advantage of mommy's love for you. She says I knew that it was your work that I got hurt on Janstamantami Day. She says I ignored it for our relationship. Prachi tells Rhea you wanted to destroy me in front of the family members and I wanted to save my family's respect. She says my foot was bleeding, but I did not open my mouth, else you would have been exposed. She says due to you, my house will be affected. She says now that I have burnt that worry, and says I will lower you in front of everyone, the guests and the family. Prachi says today you will know how I felt when you lowered my respect. She says now my struggle goes to you, and says your stupid things, hair, makeup, etc. Rhea tries to go and falls on her. Prachi gets emotional. Rhea says just leave me and let me do my work. Prachi says I am going. I have to get ready so that Ranbir can like me when I come like a show topper, and he will see you serving the snacks. Prachi thinks if Ketra doesn't come, then Pallavi and Ranbir's respect will be ruined. She goes to Pallavi and asks, did you give the party responsibility to Rhea? Pallavi says yes. Prachi says Rhea is not responsible like me. Pallavi asks, what do you want to say? Prachi gets a call and goes. She thinks that mommy shall know about the blunder so that she can help Rhea. Pallavi goes to the kitchen. Niti tells Rhea that grandma doesn't have the number. She says, shall I ask Pallavi, ma'am? Rhea says no. Pallavi hears Rhea and asks what is wrong. Rhea says everything is fine. Pallavi says Prachi told me that I shouldn't have given the party arrangement to you. Niti tells Pallavi the problem. Rhea blames Niti. Pallavi says it is not Niti's mistake, but your mistake. She says it is my mistake too, that I gave you this responsibility. Pallavi says I will talk to the caterer and says I will ask him to serve the frozen dessert first. She scolds Rhea to take up the responsibility. Niti asks Rhea to thank Prachi for saving them. Rhea asks her to go and call her a good for nothing. Rhea thinks that Prachi shared this with mommy intentionally, and she is doing this since I got married to Ranbir. She says you are doing personal attacks on me and I am just defending. She says after this, you cannot withstand in front of me. She calls Aliyah and asks her to send the lawyer's number. Aliyah and Rhea meet the lawyer. The lawyer gives Rhea some papers. Rhea reads the paper and asks what is the name on the paper. The lawyer tells her the name and says once Prachi signs on it, Ranbir and Prachi doesn't need the divorce to get separate. He says there will be no relationship. That is why divorce is not needed. Aliyah asks Rhea to read the papers. Rhea says you have read it and it is enough. The lawyer asks her to read the page number 5. Rhea reads that I, Prachi Kholi, admit that I was never married to Ranbir, that the priest who got our marriage date was fake, and I gave him money so that Ranbir thinks that we are married. Rhea continues to read the paper that all my claims that I am married to Ranbir is all fake, and now I am ending my fake marriage with Ranbir after his marriage with my sister Rhea. She says Ranbir feels that our marriage was real, so for these satisfactions, I am signing on the divorce papers, but these papers are enough. Rhea appreciates the lawyer. Aliyah says this is a weapon against Prachi. Rhea says we shall use the weapon against Prachi in the party, and I will attack her and you shall hold her. She says Prachi herself will finally leave the house. Thank you for watching my videos. Please don't forget to like my video, share it, and please subscribe to this channel for more updates. Thank you.